Hello and welcome back to another episode of Around the Horns. We're back with Monday morning talking with Jim Schloss about everything Texas baseball. Coach, I imagine you're doing all right after a really nice weekend at the ballpark.
Yeah, doing well today, and had a good weekend. Had a lot of family in town. Um, Obviously, we played really well. Had good crowds. Had a chance to go have some good dinners after a win, and get back at it this morning, getting ready for tomorrow night's game.
Yeah, it's funny you say a good dinner after the game. We were talking to Rylan Galvan after his walk-off winner yesterday afternoon, and I said, "Hey, is Jalen Flores going to treat you to anything good at the back of the place?" And he goes, "Oh man, we're going to Matt's El Rancho right away."
Yeah, I'm sure. I would assume there were some Longhorns over at Matt's El Rancho that made sure he didn't pay for dinner. But
Yeah, just a couple.
yeah, yeah, that's certainly the place to be seen as a Texas fan or a Longhorn athlete. A lot of fans there. Yeah, I'm just happy for those kids. They've earned the right to enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah, no, it was really good weekend. Obviously, Texas was able to sweep the number 3 team in the nation. Um, how big of it from a recruiting standpoint, a program standpoint is obviously it's a well set program, but as y'all are in your first year, how big is it to be able to look back and say, "Hey, we beat the number 2 team, we beat the number 3 team at home," just putting all that together?
Yeah, I think especially in the SEC states, SEC parts of the country, um, it just continues to legitimize Texas being in the conference, especially in baseball. It is a big leap, for sure, but our social media people do such a great job, and when you have those national writers and people like yourself putting out great content, I mean that's what kids look at these days. And so when you see the fans and when you see our dugout, and then I don't know of any other place where when a guy hits a home run, he gets a curtain call every time. And that stuff is super cool. And I think when you're trying to differentiate yourself, especially among the big SEC brands, it's super important. And so it doesn't. We haven't won anything. No one's satisfied for sure, but each weekend of success has value in all areas of the program.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sometimes folks are like, "Oh, coach speak," but y'all always talk about the mantra, the play to the standard, not the scoreboard. But you really get the sense of the kids buying into that every single time you talk to them. I mean, you talk to a guy like Dylan Volantis, who's brand new to Texas. He's a freshman, and he's just out there cool as a cucumber. And then you got a guy that's been around like Rylan Galvan or Jalen Flores or any of the others, and they just, it the buy-in is just incredible how fast y'all were able to get those guys to put them in this place to then see that transition into success.
Yeah, they've been great. They've been open and available to be coached. It takes a lot of humility to be coached, because you got to be willing to make changes, or you got to be willing to hear hard truths, maybe. And but I think when you have coaches on our staff with track record, like Troy, like Nolan, like Max, and the other guys on staff, Garrick Mosiello has a big impact, huge impact on our program, especially offensively. Um, Chuck Box, all those, and then bringing Drew Bishop back. I think when they see that our coaching staff is all on the same page, we have great synergy among our coaches, then that bleeds into the players. It's kind of like a family. If husband and wife are constantly fighting, then that's going to bleed into the family. If the husband and wife are one team and united, then it's going to bleed into the family too. So I think, and then certainly when you win, right? I mean, you're winning, and so there's a lot of trust involved, and it's just super important that nobody breaks that trust, right? Whether it be with actions away from the field, not doing well academically, and our day's coming. I mean, I'd like to think we're going to win them all, but there's going to be adversity. There's more than likely going to be a rough weekend somewhere, Even, the most purely talented team that I ever coached was a club I coached last year. And we lost, I think, 2 weekends in the last month of the season or so. Ole Miss, I know, was one of them. Maybe Alabama, I'm not sure, but it happens, and you just got to be ready to go and get to the postseason in some form and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting talking to folks around the program, fans of the program that follow baseball closely, or maybe from a distance where baseball is second to football at Texas, and they saw the news around Max Ballou, they saw the news around Adrian Rodriguez, and they're like, "Oh, our world's just going to crumble." And I think it was really important from the folks I talked to see that, like, hey, Texas didn't just go out there and compete; they didn't just put themselves in a place to win. They had a lot of success to show that mentality, and as you talk about building up that fan base and building up the excitement around the program, that, yeah, obviously winning matters a lot, but especially in those trying times, showing that it's huge. So,
Yeah, I think the old saying is win anyway. You win anyway. You lose 2 guys, win anyway. But you could also say win anyway. And the way we won this weekend, honestly, was pitching.
yeah.
We pitched outstanding. We've been pitching outstanding. Max and Chase Loomis, those guys down there doing an awesome job with our pitching staff, and Mason McCray works and got our little analytics team that is a big part of our success and how we call pitches and how we develop the pitchers. I mean, it's pretty close to a major league front office down there. Those guys are super talented, and so when you keep the other team down, I think we gave up 10 runs on the weekend and gave up 2 homers on a club that's leading the nation in home runs. So I'd like to think that if we would have had, especially yesterday, with the number of fastballs that they threw, they're good fastballs, mid-90s fastballs, but 2 of the best fastball hitters on our team are Rodriguez and Ballou. I'd like to think those guys maybe would have got 1 or 2 with that wind blowing out the right field, and we would have scored more runs. But we played enough offense, and there's just a lot of ways to win a baseball game. And so I'm really, super proud of our team, and hopefully Adrian can get back maybe this week at some point. And Max is determined to be back before the season's over. So we'll keep our fingers crossed on that.
Yeah. Speaking of the lineup, before we get into the pitching, you only had 1 left-handed hitter in your lineup throughout the weekend, and obviously that's a constraint due to injuries and just the talent on the roster. But how much does that necessarily constrict your offense or your ability to do certain things, only having that one guy, in batting left-handed?
I don't know that I don't know the left-handed thing. I mean, it certainly constricts the offense because it allows a guy like Finley, who pit through for Georgia yesterday, who's got the great right-handed breaking ball, just makes it really tough he's tough on anybody, but one of the values of having a balanced lineup is you make the pitcher pitch differently from hitter to hitter, right? So like most guys will throw their fastball and their breaking ball, their slider, maybe to right-handed hitters, and to lefties, maybe they don't have as much confidence in that breaking ball coming into the lefties, and they'll use their changeup or whatever. And so you have to kind of, you can't get in a rhythm per se. And when you're stacked on one side of the batting, or if you're stacked right-handers and you got a really tough righty, he can get in a rhythm and just keep doing what he does. And that's the age old thing of seeing a homeless guy on the street couldn't hit a breaking ball, and that's really, nobody hits the good ones. You got to be able to hit the bad ones like Tommy Farmer did there in the 9th inning. But that constricts us. But really what constricts us, like not having Max and Rodriguez, is those guys can run. Those guys can steal some bases, or they can go first to third. They can score on a double. And, Stewart's not stealing too many bags. Borba's a really good base runner, but it kind of we just kind of have to sit around and wait for hits, which I hate that because it's hard to get hits. But when you do get big swings, like Borba had a big swing on the weekend, big home run, and Stewart obviously had a huge homer when we were getting no hit, I think or it was right after 1 hit on Saturday. Those guys, but that's our team. Like there's no we have a few other left-handed hitters on the team, but position player wise, they don't play the right positions we can't run Cole Chamberlain the left field. Jonah's making progress, but he's not ready yet. So that's our team. And hopefully in the years to come, not hopefully, you will see in years to come that we will have, right, left, and switch guys in there, we hope.
Yeah. Speaking of running, at the beginning of the season, we talked about you wanted those guys to have that freedom to feel like, hey, look, if Cantu's timing him up real well and we think we know what the arm is on the catcher, we're going to give the guys a lot of freedom. Have y'all pulled that back maybe because like you said, that maybe you don't have the same team speed with Baloo and A-Rod out there, but you saw a guy like Galvan steal second and third, which, after the game was quite hilarious to talk to him about that. But how much freedom do y'all give those guys in those situational moments?
We give them the freedom when the math lines up. And I actually don't really care about the arm of the catcher. It never goes into play. I care about the arm of the catcher on the back picks. So, for example, if we're at first base and the catcher catches the ball and he's really aggressive and really good at throwing behind the runner, then that's something we discuss. But I don't think there's any catcher that really I've ever considered into the equation. It's more about the leg time of the pitcher. And Georgia did a really good job of holding runners, and we knew that going in. There were the lefty, Goldstein, he had a couple things that we saw on video that we could get him. And Rylan is like I said in the press conference yesterday, he's not slow. He scored on that double. He ran through the stop sign, but he scored on that double that Gasparino hit. And but he can really move for a catcher, especially once it gets going. And he's really good at baseball. So if I give a guy a green light, that normally means the math lines up. If you get a jump, go ahead and get him. Or maybe we have a certain tell on the pitcher that if you see X happening with the pitcher, then he's not picking. We can get him. And so Rylan getting the steal to second base was awesome. But the bigger play was immediately going on the next pitch. And so he did a great job. And his first to third yesterday, by the way, I know, old school baseball fans will moan at making the first or third out at third base, but that wasn't a reckless play. That was a very, very good decision. The outfielder was moving away from third base, and he made a perfect throw. And that was a bang, bang play. And I want our guys going 1,000 times out of 1,000. I don't want them to be hesitant. I thought Duplantier in the ninth inning, I don't know why he didn't go first to third. He thought the guy was playing shallow, which they were playing shallow. But what I want to make sure of is that he didn't go to third base just because Galvan made an out at third base.
Makes sense.
We can't play scared. So we don't ever want to be reckless, but we do want to play aggressive.
Yeah, that center fielder made a hell of a throw because he's to your point, his motion was taking him away, and he threw up the line, which actually held him out quite a bit instead of typically, you throw inside that bag. So that was a bang, bang play. You talked about analytics and y'all having just a really strong foundation there under Mason and the team, and obviously what Gehrig and the rest of the staff brings. But talking about the pitching, what did y'all see that y'all were able to attack so well from a team that essentially leads all of the offensive categories in the nation coming into the series?
I think I think each hitter on their club has their own, like every team has their own strengths and weaknesses. I think in general, our ability, not just this weekend, but Max's philosophy that pitches don't have names, they just have shapes. And so, like, you've seen us throw a 3-0 breaking ball this year, multiple times, but if that's what the guy throws for a strike, then why would we not throw it, whether it's a slider or a fastball? So I think, Georgia's really good at, they try to predict pitches. They try to get you leveraged into a corner to where maybe the percentages say you're going to throw this, fastball, for example, and we just never, or at least rarely, gave into it. I think the size of our park relative to the size of their field. Not that they aren't good; they're certainly very good. Because when they hit them at their park, that they don't just go barely over the fence; they go. I think they call it feed the trees,
Yeah.
and they definitely feed the trees out there. And the north wind helped. I mean, it may have kept maybe one or two in the park this weekend. I don't remember too many that were hammered to the poolside, but I think Max called a great game, and the pitchers went out there and executed pitches.
Yeah, I mean you look at they came into the game with 85 home runs on the year, averaging almost 2.7 home runs a game. And to your point, like there was a stiff wind coming left to right, but y'all still held them to 3 total home runs over the weekend and only 15 hits. And then I know you always talk about the free bases, like those are the margin pieces that really, really kill you in the SEC, especially like a team against Georgia and 38 strikeouts versus 10 walks. Obviously, that had to make a huge dent in their ability to really get that offensive going.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only what was it? All the games run together, but we had we had the error in the first inning, and then the guy scored. Ruger, who's been nothing but a strike thrower, kind of lost the strike zone just for an inning, really. It just left him for some reason. That's part of baseball, especially on a cold day. But he limited the damage. Him and Max, they've been working on all kinds of different looks, and he threw that drop down breaking ball to the cleanup hitter who hit a inning-ending double play. I mean, that was a huge pitch to a really good hitter. And so yeah, those guys, and then I think you look at how we got back in the game Saturday was the misplayed ball in right field. And so those are extra free bases that they gave us, and then we took advantage of it.
How unique is it that Max is able to get these guys to work on new pitches or additional pitches? I know Ruger's talked about it. Even Grubbs has talked about it. Like, it seems like that's something that you don't often see within the season where they're starting to work on new pitches. Typically, that's something you see in the summer or fall where they get a lot of time in the bullpen to focus, get their hand right, the feel for it, et cetera. So, I mean, how unique is that to see?
Very. I mean, I think even Luke Harrison broke out a curveball the other day.
Yeah.
73-mile-an-hour curveball. So that's now, let's see, if those 3 different fastballs, changeup, slider, curveball, 6 pitches. And so I think what Max, number one, he's great at the relationships. So they build very strong relationships. There's a lot of trust involved. There's a lot of freedom to fail, freedom to try things. And if they don't work, oh, well, no worries. We tried. Or, oh, that's kind of cool. Let's break that out. And so I think, if you understand me, what I'm saying is like it frees up their mind. They play with less anxiety because it's kind of like when they're in Little League and you're playing wiffle ball and you're holding the wiffle ball one way and it goes that way. Oh, let me try this, and it goes that way. And so he does such a good job of that. And you got to give credit to the players. I mean, they're athletic. I mean, Ruger's actually a really good outfielder. Him covering the plate at home plate in the first inning yesterday, that was a great play. Great play by Ryland. Great play by Ruger. So when you have athletic players, and that's why we love athleticism, even on the mound. The big donkey 6'7", 240 pitcher. You better really be able to pitch because normally those guys aren't going to be able to do other things. So, but we have some athletic guys that like to have a lot of fun, and Max is the best that there is at what he does.
Yeah, that play at home plate, just like y'all drew it up defensively over the week, I'm sure.
Yeah, just sling it off the backstop and get him at home plate.
I was still shocked by that because it wasn't even a fastball. It was an 82-mile-an-hour changeup that went wide. And I was like, how did it bounce back I mean, it must have just hit perfectly, bounced back right to Galvan right there. It was.
Yeah, no, I think it was that drop down breaking ball. He was trying
okay.
He was trying to sweep one across the guy and just held on to it too long, or it slipped out. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, those are the breaks. Those things happen during the season, both for and against you. I mean, Tuesday night, if we get another inch on that ball that Schussler hit, it's a tie ball game, and who knows what happens. So, yeah, the margins are thin.
Yeah. And then, the freshman Dylan Volantis. I'm not sure that I've seen a more mature freshman player in the years that I've covered Texas baseball. I mean, he's just nothing seems to phase him, and he just seems like he's there in the moment every single moment. And I know like Jalen Flores talks about like, hey, I was 0 for 3. I had 3 strikeouts. That was 2 seconds ago. That was 2 million years ago. Doesn't matter, right? I'm in the present, but like Volantis as a freshman pitcher in the SEC, if you start looking at the stats, and we were talking to the SID Josh White yesterday after the game about it, like he's hitting some milestones that you just don't see from freshmen in the SEC on the mound.
Yeah, he's super talented, and I sure am glad that we were able to grab him there late in the summer. What a great recruiting story that has been, and will continue to be. But he's got great parents. He's got a really cool way about him. He doesn't get flustered on anything. He's just having fun. He and Max vibe really well, and he's got a bright future. We just got to, we got to protect him. We got to take care of him. He's got to get bigger and stronger over the summer because, certainly he's built to be a elite starting pitcher in this league. I would imagine that's where he'll end up in years to come. But right now, we'll probably leave him right in that role.
Yeah. I know after the game on Saturday, Kendall Rogers asked you this. And the obvious answer is pitching, right? But what components, I guess, of this team have surprised you maybe the most outside of pitching? Is it the fact that they were able to gel so quickly and follow through on what you and the rest of the staff are trying to push across to them? Or is it, mentality wise, what is it?
Yeah, I would have to say, on one hand, yes, it's surprising that they do that because it's easy not to do it. It's easy to, when you have a new coach come in, there are places that they don't buy in, or they're like, especially our commitment to the mental game, our use of Brian Kane, how invested we are into the mental game of baseball more than any other baseball program in the country. And it's not even close, whether it be Chris Del Conte giving us the resources to pay for that because it's not cheap, but it is real. And anybody who doesn't think it's real, I think they're sadly mistaken. But so on one hand, yes, it's not normal to get total buy-in right out of the gate. And we literally haven't had, a few things here and there, guys late to this or misses class or gets a bad grade, but nothing crazy that I know of. So that it is surprising. But on the other hand, when you look at the quality of human beings in Galvan, Flores, Schussler, Ballou, Dre, Luke Harrison, like, the quote unquote leaders of the team or leadership council, whatever you call them. When you have full buy-in from those guys, then the rest of the team kind of falls in line. And that's why I said that in the press conference yesterday we may get better players over the course of time, but you can't get better people. You just can't. Hopefully we'll have as good of people, but you're not going to have better. You just don't have better guys than that. So just like my first year at A&M, just like my first year at TCU, I inherited 8 seniors at TCU. I inherited an awesome group of guys at A&M, very similar personalities to these kids here. And it's very special, very, very special, and something that I'm trying to enjoy because it is rare.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to touch on was, earlier in the season, we talked about the shift and the effect it can have on a game or not have on a game. And I know you said y'all obviously do a lot of video analytics, and there's some times where you just have that feeling like, hey, I looked at this kid. Regardless, I think we should shift over. You haven't seen teams shift as much on Texas recently. And you had talked about previously about you wanting to get that to the point where like teams can't shift. Is that something that you and Tulo and Kane and the rest of the staff have been working on with the hitters just to ensure that, they're able to take full advantage of the field and not stay, truly poolside or otherwise?
Yeah. We're always trying to do that. There's I don't want to mention names to help the other team, but there are guys on our team that still, there's right-handed hitters on the team that haven't hit a ground ball to the right side, and that's why, we're trying to, you don't want somebody going up there trying to do that. You just want them to have the ability to do that. when you look at a guy like Mendoza, who with 2 strikes just goes kind of butt out and shoots a ball through the 4-hole yesterday. I mean, that's what the real hitters look like. When you saw Max Ballou, who hadn't swung a bat hardly in 3 weeks, in heading into Arlington, and he plays the first game and he hits 2. They're trying to play a shift on him, and he hits 2 balls down the left field line. Well, that video stays out there the rest of the season. And now some teams will be more aggressive, like we are. I'm going to play. I don't just look at the spray charts. I watch every swing. I watch every single ground ball that they hit, and then you try to match it up with who's pitching, and you try to read swings, and you can read swings in the middle of at bat. One of the guys yesterday, we didn't have him in a full shift, and he swung at a breaking ball, and he almost hit it right at me. I mean, just hit it, swung all the way around, and I was like, "What? There's no chance he's hitting the ball to third base. Go ahead and get all the way over there." And then you have, like I think we've talked about before, you have like unique pitchers, like Max Grubbs. Max Grubbs. We look at his spray chart, and very, very few ground balls have been hit to the right side of the infield when Max Grubbs is pitching to right-handed hitters. So now what happens the first time one shoots through there that maybe costs us, it's going to look bad. It's going to feel bad.
Yeah.
But everybody always remembers that one. They don't ever, they sometimes forget all the hits that you took away. So I'll be interested to see if the shift stays in college baseball. It definitely is a topic. But for now, whatever the rules are, we'll play by them, and we'll try to give our pitchers the best chance to get outs by moving the defense around.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right. Well, I'll let you get out of here. But one last question. Obviously, the torpedo bats are all the craze in the major leagues. I think we touched upon this once before, but just you have any of the kids on the team like, hey, can I see what Marucci's doing or whatever?
Yeah, well, I mean, they've gotten Marucci. Nolan used to work for Marucci, so he's very close to those guys. Kurt Ainsworth, who's a great pitcher at LSU, I think that's one of the founders of Marucci.
Yeah,
and I think Kurt said he's gotten hundreds of calls about can they make those for aluminum bats, which you can't. You can't do that. It's against the bat regulations. So Tulo said those things have been around for a long time. It just so happened they've gotten, with social media, and then the Yankees having that. They already have a great team and great power, but they had that one big day and it kind of caught fire. So good for Marucci. I would, well, it's probably too late now, but investing in Marucci probably would have been a good idea.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Coach, well, I'll let you get out of here. I know y'all got work to do, but Texas is back up to the dish on Tuesday to finish up their homestand against Houston Christian, who has surprisingly made a big turnaround from last year. And then this weekend, they will be traveling to Kentucky to take on the Wildcats, which they always seem to provide a tough test for anyone in the SEC. So definitely check out all the games. And Coach, appreciate having you on.
All right, you guys have a great week, Zach.
Thanks. Welcome.